Well, this is just extraordinary. What a day. Thank you all so much. I can't tell you how much it means to me. It's absolutely wonderful. Father Mom, I'm so glad you're here. You were instrumental in starting this, and I can't thank you enough. Jeff, God, the things you said today were just, I can know how those Academy Award winners feel. It was just beautiful and moving. And that I've helped you with your name, which has been so generous, and your support. It's just absolutely wonderful. Eric, Suzanne, you're all just terrific people. What is it about this place? Everyone here is terrific. It really is. It's just extraordinary. This has just been a truly magnificent day. I won't talk long. I just wanted to mention a couple of people that, oh, boys, my two sons. Gee, you look so adult. And Enid, I'll have some things to say about you. But I'll leave you be for now. I wanted to comment on three people. The first is a man named Bert Barsky. Bert Barsky was my high school English teacher. He taught me grammar. It's been so central to everything I've ever done since. I can't believe that in one semester in high school, one teacher could have had such an enormous effect on me. Central High School, and it is in Philadelphia, although I am indeed now a Bostonian, quite an unusual place. I mentioned earlier this morning that the recently departed Hillary Putnam of Harvard University's philosophy department was a graduate of Central High School, and he was in the exact same class as Noam Chomsky, who I think many of you know. Central was filled with incredible people, distinguished people in all walks of life. In the Jewish world, the president of the Jewish Theological Seminary in New York, Arnie Eisen, graduated just a year before me. The extremely conservative organization, the Zionists of America, is headed by Morton Klein, who's also a student from Central High School. Along the lines of religion, President Obama's former pastor, Jeremiah Wright, was at Central High School when I was, as was Bill Cosby, but we're not going to talk about that. I never mentioned that, you didn't hear it. You all know this Eric Owens, but the great bass baritone of the Metropolitan Opera, Eric Owens, Eric with a C, who sings in all the Wagnerian roles, is also a graduate of Central High School. As is Albert Barnes of the Barnes Collection and the artists that he hung out with, Thomas Eakins, the painter. I mean, it's an amazing place, and one of the reasons that made it so amazing were the teachers. Bert Barsky would have absolutely no idea who I was, or he's still alive today. I was a relatively insignificant student. The best student in my class was also in that particular class. He's now in Boston, although I don't have much contact with him. But I just learned so much from this one man. I'll never forget, he always needed a shave. He had a style that, as a high school student, I didn't quite recognize, but today I would recognize as inspired by gay culture. But most of all, he was such a dedicated and devoted teacher, and to receive all of that wisdom at that age in life just set me on the right course. I'm deeply indebted to Central High School. I love the place, and couldn't be who I am without it. Wasn't so good in college, but high school's where I learned everything. Second person I wanted to acknowledge, I've never met at all. His name is Jason Epstein, and at the age of 22, he graduated from Columbia College and went into publishing and essentially invented the paperback book. Doubleday Anchor, he was a relatively increasingly obscure publisher when he went to work for them, located out on Long Island and publishing genteel books for a genteel audience that no longer exists. And he revolutionized book publishing with a paperback book. He later went on and founded Vintage Books after having founded Anchor at Doubleday. And I say all this because when I graduated Central High School and moved on by subway to Temple University for my undergraduate education, why I went to Temple, It's not that long a story. I couldn't get in anywhere else. But Temple accepted me, and I remember walking by the bookstore and seeing these paperback books lined up against the wall. And the Anchor books were amazing. I mentioned earlier this morning the influence of a sociologist and political scientist named Seymour Martin Lipset, and his book, Political Man, was one of those books I saw there. It had a painting on, a work of art on the cover by someone named Ben Shahn, who at the time I had absolutely no idea who Ben Shahn was. But I would say the cover of that book introduced me to art, just as the contents of that book introduced me to the social sciences. And that was only one. The range of books that this publisher, Jason Epstein, put out was truly astonishing. And the same held true when he moved to vintage books. If there was a question this morning that was asked about who could predict the things that have happened now from the standpoint of 50 years ago, like an African American as president, or the things about, what was the other one?
The Supreme Court with no
Protestants. Supreme Court without a Protestant. If someone would have told me then that I would publish books with vintage, I said, no, that's just likely as an African American being inconceivable. I read books and so on. But Jason Epstein, I believe, is still alive. What a remarkable thing he did. And I just bought them. I mean, I just simply bought them. They looked so beautiful, and they were not expensive because they were in paperback. So, thank you, Jason Epstein. Third person I want to thank is Bob Barth. Robert Barth, S.J., was a priest and member of the Society of Jesus, who was the Dean of Arts and Sciences, and made it possible for me to come to this university. He was just the most extraordinary man, a scholar of Coleridge, a man with an incredible smile that just lit up the world. He was my introduction to the Society of Jesus. And again, I don't want to, but could one have predicted that I would wind up at a Catholic university way back in those days? You see, when I went to Central High, there was a public high school football league and a Catholic high school football league in Philadelphia. And Central High, being in a sort of exam school, all boys, but well, not a place known for its physical prowess. In my senior year, by some absolute miracle that no one, certainly not the God of the Jewish people, could explain, won the national championship for the public high school football league, led by that redoubtable 145-pound linebacker, Simon Goldman. And what happened back in those days was that the winner of the public league played the winner of the Catholic league for the Philadelphia School Championship. And there was this school, Monsignor Bonner High School. I don't know who Monsignor Bonner was, but we went up against them. And 64-0 was the final score. And it wasn't in favor of Central High School. So if you had told me then that I'd wind up teaching at Catholic University, I would have said, why? They're all football players. And somewhat true, at least in the old days of Boston. Well, when I'm retired, I'll just take over the football team and try to bring it back to respectability. And if you want me to do basketball team, but here I am. I mean, the world works in strange ways. A few blocks from where I lived was a Catholic university called LaSalle College, and very nice place. But it was right next to the high school, and we walked through. I knew almost nothing about the Catholic world and about the Catholic world of higher education. And coming here, well, I learned a lot more before I came here, but what an experience it's been for me to live in this wonderful environment that the Society of Jesus has created through the centuries, and that flourishes and lives on at the moment in places like Boston College. Did I come here without warnings from some of my friends, especially some of my Jewish friends, that, Alan, why do you want to go to Boston College? You know that the Irish in Boston hate the Jews, and that Boston, Catholic colleges and universities aren't to be trusted. And I really actually shocked. I mean, people were literally shocked when I told them I was leaving BU to come to BC. the single best decision I ever made, except for meeting Enid, was to come from Boston University to Boston College. This place is just an extraordinary institution. I just love it from top to bottom. I'm so proud that Andreas and Jan are both graduates of Boston College. That Jan is a double eagle, having also gone to law school here. It has not only been a home for me intellectually, it's been a home for my family, for all three of my children are graduates. Rebecca, who just gave birth, therefore can't be here today, is now an assistant professor of chemistry at the Johns Hopkins University, and it was her undergraduate studies in chemistry here at Boston College. It's just a phenomenally good chemistry department that made all that possible. So here I am saying goodbye. You have to. People are asking me why, and the sort of flattering answer is I'm actually older than I look. But whatever, I'm old enough. It really comes a time when you should pass it along. It's time for me to do that now. I've thought about this a long time, and I wanted to go out on a high note. I wanted to go out, really went at the best of my ability and at the best of my powers, and pass the torch on to someone else. I'm thrilled that Mark Nassar will be taking over. I've known him a long time. Before I came to Boston College, I knew Mark. The Boston Center's in great hands. Eric is here, and Eric to continue the work we did, and all of you. It's just been a wonderful, wonderful experience. I'm thrilled, and I'm thrilled that I could leave with the generous support of the university for this very, very special day that I'll never forget as long as I live.
So please stick around, and the party's not over. The music will return, the drinks are flowing, the sun is shining. We'll be here for at least another hour, I think, and I hope you'll stick around as well. But thank you all for being here.